Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Apartment Department, a podcast for multifamily marketers by multifamily marketers. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's really fun, and that is one of our favorite KPIs right now, which is looking at average days vacant and how we can market, one, why it's important, and then two, how we can really market those units that have been sitting stale for a while. And so with that, I want to talk a little bit about why this is important. We ran a study last year in our organization, and we realized that our average days vacant was about 44 days, and the benchmark for our competitors was like 33 days. And we calculated that if we got our average days vacant down to the benchmark, that we could actually bring in about $1.7 million more in rental revenue than we were previously. And so that started this whole kind of chain of, well, how do we focus on this number and how do we push these units out? So, Chris, I want to ask you, is this something that you look at your organization?
Hey, Ann, great to be here. It's not a number that I've looked at a lot, and I started looking at it once you brought it up. I mean, the rental income that you're talking about is incredible. Can you think about the bottom line and how we get to better NOIs if we can generate income without a lot more money, or just thinking about it differently? So it's a great KPI, and I'm excited to talk about it with you today.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I am too. I think so. We actually ended up setting a goal this year. We said, okay, we are going to, when we looked at how do we lower this number, we had some units that had been sitting vacant for, I'm a little embarrassed to say, but like 300 days in some cases. And these were units that were really higher rents, kind of our premium units. But we really started to think about, okay, if we want to get this number down overall, then we have to start tackling these units that have been sitting for a historically long time. And so our sites do some of that, by the way. You know, they use kind of price regulation tools or rent regulation tools. And so they're pulling the trigger on their end in terms of rental rates. But anyway, we thought it would be interesting. We set a goal actually, and we said, okay, in 2024, we are going to help our sites decrease the number of units that have been sitting vacant for over 60 days by 20%. And so again, recognizing that KPI and then setting a goal has kind of now put us on this journey of, beyond changing the price, how do we, as a marketing team, help our on-site staff push these units out? And so I know we had talked previously about some things that you do to help your site teams push units. Can you talk about a couple of those?
Yeah, sure. And it's funny because once you brought this up, in our conversations, it's something that I've been looking at now as a way to help our teams. I just want, before I get into some of the things I've done to market units and to do some outside the box, did you look at the units that were 300 days vacant, and did you ask operations why they're vacant? Did that help you in formulating any of your plans on how you were going to market a unit, say because maybe it faced power lines or the garbage can, or was just a bad unit compared to the rest?
So that's a good point. We talked to them in terms of the pricing. We sit on kind of our rent regulation. That's not the right word, but the software that controls rent. We sit on those calls on a weekly basis. And so we're already talking with our site staff about the units that are sitting stale, but we didn't, beyond adjusting prices, no, we haven't really connected with them that much about some of the tactics that they could use. We felt like they were aware of them already. So what we really started to do as a team was try and think about, well, what solutions beyond kind of what exists currently might be out there to push stale units. And we've actually kind of hit a roadblock, which I want to talk about in a little bit. It seems like a lot of the solutions right now are very much like the back to basics, kind of tried and true solutions for marketing units.
Well, there's a couple things that I've been doing recently just because my budgets are a little tight right now, and I'm trying to move units, whether they're vacant long periods of time or even still lease, but we know that a notice is coming. And a couple of those things are starting to pay off. And I'll tell you how we're kind of looking at it, which I think is interesting. One of the things that we're doing is we're going out to locators. And I know going to locators isn't anything new, and a lot of apartment marketers use this tool. But I think the way that we're promoting it to the is a little bit different. We're looking at our loss rental income and we're telling them, hey, if you bring us a bunch of leases, you could make XYZ, let's say 20,000 in the next month because of the vacant units we have at this community. And when you present it that way, instead of just saying, oh, you'll get, $1,000 or $1,200 a lease, you give them that bigger number and it gets them excited. Like, hey, I know 3 people already that I can move in, and that's really going to help. So that's something that we are definitely pushing right now at my company when we're talking about locators to move these units. I think being part of the real estate, we're in real estate, and being a good partner to some of these real estate offices and building those relationships is always a good thing. And it's something I've done wherever I've been at every stop. How does that sound to you? Do you think that presenting it that way, saying you could make $20,000 or $30,000 in the next couple of months if you come push our units, versus just saying, hey, here's $800 flat?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you're offering people more money, and I am hoping that you can. So I don't really, I'm familiar with the term locator, but I don't think that that's something that we use up in Ohio. I think I've heard that that's more popular down in Texas where you are. So maybe for folks who aren't familiar with what a locator is, you could tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, sure. It's working with the local realtors. And then there's, of course, there's some digital ones you can do. Like in Dallas, there's a big one called Smart City, and they're in some other big cities in the Sun Belt. But basically what it is you walk into the office and you let the real estate agents know, hey, we're paying commissions if you bring us a rental. And right now we're offering 1 month referral fee on whatever the gross rent is. So that's pretty big. Usually, in a perfect scenario, it's 0 or maybe 25% of your first month is what you're paying. But right now we want to move some units before we get into the summertime. And so we're offering a little bit more. And to be successful in this type of arena, what I suggest to all of my on-site teams and regionals is go hit the 3 closest offices that are big, whether it's Century 21 or Keller Williams, whatever, they're all out there, Coldwell Banker, and go in there every week for the next 2 months, bring some treats, say hello, build a relationship, and then when they have somebody, they're going to come to you. But instead of just telling them we're going to pay that 1 month referral, we're basically saying, hey, we have a bunch of units that we need you to lease for us. So we're giving them the total amount that they could make in a perfect world if they brought us 30 people. So that's how we've been doing it. And I actually, very early on in my career, I was a broker relations manager. And so my whole job was to visit 200 offices a week, basically, and just keep going in to push our new homes and our multifamily projects in California. And it's always been successful when you build that relationship. And so we're doing it here, a little bit higher referral fee than we'd like, but it'll still work for us. And we're doing a hot sheet. So basically we're taking the vacant units with the best pricing and we're handing it to them and saying, here are the units that you can go lease, 1, 2, 3 bedroom, whatever it is, and then bring us our people. So that's been what we're doing, Ann.
I love that. And again, that's a very much back to basics, foundational marketing piece. And so I think that sounds like a good solution for us too. As I mentioned, a lot of our units that have been sitting vacant are higher end. They would be good fits for people who maybe are like building a home and are already working with a realtor, but maybe they need a temporary place to stay. So I love that idea. And I love sometimes the issue we run into with initiatives like that is who owns them within the organization. Should they be centralized, or it sounds like you're having your individual RVPs go out because they're familiar with the area and they have a set of portfolios. So, but I love that. We need to revisit that from an organization standpoint. I think when I was thinking about from a marketing department standpoint, how could we push these units? I was really getting stuck. Again, on-site teams can do like the open houses and, change the prices and take people. A lot of tricks that you've taught me, take people on a tour of a super long, stale unit and a unit that they came into tour. And so I've, from a marketing standpoint though, I've been thinking about, well, how do we automatically push these units? And I have not, beyond setting up like a Facebook ad for an individual unit or maybe sending an email blast, I have not really been able to find compatibility with the ILSs or even really like pay-per-click or SEO on pushing these units individually. It seems very much like a manual process. And so that's something that I keep searching for. If someone listening to this knows of I did find one thing where I guess if I was like an independent apartment owner, I could go and list individual units, but it was so time consuming. They'll basically like push out your unit to like apartments.com and Zillow as free listings. But by the time I finished it and then I tried to find my listing, I was like, I can't, this is not efficient. So that becomes my struggle, is how do we automate this stuff a little bit more? Do you have any suggestions or ideas on that?
I don't, because it's hard. There are programs out there that you can promote the price, but sometimes that long-standing vacant isn't your lowest price unit. It's not your loss leader. But when I'm talking to the teams, and it's funny because I'm talking to them a lot these days in all of the trainings, what I'm telling them is, we know the units that we need to move, and you need to bring these up every single time. What I'm telling these agents is, one, get up from the desk and go show units. Don't just sit there behind a computer, because the generation has changed a little bit and they feel more comfortable behind that computer than they do actually go showing a unit. But I tell them we need to move these units, and we do some special stuff. So we may do an extra bonus if they can move it. We're doing double closing. I mean, this is all stuff back to the basics that we've been doing our whole lives in this industry. But you need to go show those long standing vacants first, no matter what it is. Whether they come in, if you have a 2-bedroom, go show them that and say, hey, you can get this, 2-bedroom for the 1-bedroom price. So you're looking for the 1-bedroom. And that's how we're doing it. It's the leasing agents are the ones that need to push these units when they come on site. Our job is to bring qualified traffic inside of the office. And when they come into the office, it's our leasing agent's job to go move these units. Now we can help. We can tell them to, bake some cookies in the unit, or make sure the unit smells good and the lights are on, do those little things that happen. Maybe have a spin the wheel. And if they lease that unit, they can spin a bonus wheel and get a prize. Maybe it's a gift card or a TV or something. But so we can do all of that fun stuff on the marketing side, but it's really up to the agent to understand how important it is to actually move these units and not just take the easy one when somebody comes on, which is hard to do, but that's also part of the sales job, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think what you're saying reflects actually what I'm saying to you is, I feel like I'm trying to take the easy way out from a marketing standpoint. Like, if only someone would just automate pushing these units for me, then my life would be good. And maybe I'm not willing to appreciate the elbow grease that might come into, assisting our teams in pushing some of these units. But I love your perspective on this, because it's low-hanging fruit. It's easy money. And I think it's something from a marketing standpoint that, we talk a lot about, how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we use data to show our value? And I think KPIs like this are ones that aren't always viewed in terms of like, everyone knows it's important, but they're not thinking about it from a revenue lost standpoint. And so I'm excited to go back to my team and kind of think about some of the stuff. I love the realtor idea, so I'm excited to go back and try some more things. Do you have any other thoughts on average days vacant?
Yes, I just want to give you a couple other tools that our team is using. Okay. Facebook Marketplace. So yes, you have to do it with your own profile right now, but it still works. And Craigslist is coming back, and we're using Craigslist as well. And those are avenues where you can show that unit if you want, because you can put the floor plan, you can talk about the direct unit, you can even show the pricing, right? So those are a couple of things that we're doing, maybe a little bit different. And then on Facebook, in the markets that make sense, there's a bunch of Facebook groups, and it might be a Dallas Facebook group, or in your case, maybe it's a Cincinnati Facebook group, and there's people on there that talk all the time. I have a Denton downtowners, for example, up by where I live, and that's another avenue that I've been pushing our teams to be part of and be part of the community. And we're also doing outreach marketing just in general. So we're going to all the local strip malls around the area, and we're dropping stuff off and getting their business card, dropping our flyers to do just some of that guerrilla marketing that isn't online, to try to capture what's going on. So we're kind of hitting it on both sides, right? We're doing some of the old school Facebook marketing and Craigslist stuff, but we're also actually going out in person and hitting these offices. And that would include going to the realtor offices all at the same time. So those are a couple of tools that we're using, and they work. I mean, when you get out in the community and you show your face, people start to gravitate. You build that trust, and then they want to lease from you. One of the things that and then I'll probably talk about this moving forward in a lot of our talks that we have, is people are leasing from you, your people on site. They're not leasing the apartment. There's a lot of competitors out there, and we're all spending money, and we all do relatively the same things with certain nuances here and there. But the teams need to be outgoing and happy and excited as these prospects walk in, and that'll make all the difference because they're leasing from you. And if you use the KPIs and it's important to your organization, and you start teaching the teams why you're using this KPI, it becomes top of mind to them. And then all of a sudden it's just clockwork. They're going to go show the vacant, whether it works or not, and then they'll go show the rest of the property.
I love that. I do have a question. Are you having this goes back to my thought about responsibility of the marketing team versus the on-site team. Are your on-site teams the ones that are going out and doing the outreach marketing? Who's responsible for all of those tactics?
The on-site teams are the ones responsible for executing. When there is extra bandwidth, I go out as well, and I'll go out with the regional or whatever it is. So at some of these locator offices, I am going out with the regional and or the community manager to kind of go with them and show them how to do it when there's extra bandwidth. But as far as Craigslist and some of the other things, they are responsible for it with guidance from marketing. I'm one of those marketing professionals that tells them, Teams me if you have a question, if you're out there, if you need something, call me, Teams me, whatever it is. And if I'm available, I'll help you. So that's kind of how we ask them to go through it. But we give them guidance, and we give them the tools, and we give them some bullets to talk about when they do go out. So they're not going out blind. We're giving them the tools to do it, and then we ask them to go since they know their areas better than we do.
I think that makes sense, and thank you so much. That we should talk about that one time, kind of how our teams are structured and the responsibilities. But in the meantime, thank you everyone so much for joining us for the apartment department. We really enjoyed talking about average days vacant and ways to push those stale units, both from a marketing and an on-site team standpoint. And we hope you will join us again. Thank you.